Hello there, Gemini. Welcome to your monthly forecast. This is for the month of September. I hope that everybody is doing great, and I'd like to start by welcoming all of my return viewers. I really appreciate your continued support here. It definitely motivates me to come back, and I love to see the journey that you've been taking in your growth and your expansion and your intuitive development, so thank you. To all of my new viewers, I'd like to extend a nice warm welcome as well as introduce myself. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and let me outline how I organize the reading each and every month. I like to begin with channeled information. This is a lot of fun for me, and I also think some great information comes through during this point because it's just a section where I connect with spirit and I channel whatever needs to be conveyed to you. So I use clairvoyance, I use whatever else I'm feeling, seeing, and hearing, and I bring that forth. Afterwards, I then use a Celtic cross, and that's an additional opportunity for spirit to move through and convey whatever information you need to know for the month ahead. And then I know that everybody appreciates certain areas, so I've expanded the forecast to include health, wealth, love, and destiny. The information in each of my monthly videos can be applied to your sun sign, your rising, or your moon if you happen to know it. It can also be used on behalf of someone in your life that you care about. If you don't happen to know those different parts of your chart, the sun, rising, and moon, then just stick with the sign that you were born under and you'll get all the guidance that you need by doing that. So as you can tell, we take a really deep dive into everything that September has to offer, and I think you'll walk away feeling better and more empowered. That's always my goal. If you enjoy everything that you see here, I would love for you to stick around until the very end. In addition to a nice summary and also a closing word, I'll give you some information on how you can give back to the channel. This includes everything from liking and subscribing to booking an appointment, becoming a patron, or even just doing a one-time contribution. All of these things make a really big impact, and I'll discuss everything at great length at the end of this reading, but right now let's get into your channeled information for the month of September. This month, as I selected a deck of cards and I began to meditate on your sign, the first thing that I felt was a need for you to bring some sort of balance to your life. Much like what you would see in, for instance, the Six of Pentacles card, I feel that many of you have what it takes, you have enough in front of you, but there are either people in your life that are taking too much and you may be giving too much, or you might have a difficult time this month saying no, and therefore you overextend or overspend. And again, when I'm looking at resources, this could be your time, your energy, or your money. And for many of you, the typical tug of war is between like how much you're working and how much you're spending with friends, family, and loved ones. So do your best this month to understand that I think actually time and love are the two most important currencies and resources that we have. And hopefully you're spending your time and energy in things and with people that are kind of reciprocal, they're giving back to you. If you work too much, if you burn the candle at both ends, then you're just sort of extinguishing those resources faster. And it's kind of like if you've ever seen a runner and at that very last mile, they can't do it, or they're gasping for air. I want you to pace yourself this month, and it's better to occasionally take a rest, say no, push back, or just make some choices and think, I'll do this next week or next month. This prioritization, it's gonna save you. It's also, for some of you, gonna save face. You're gonna look better by just being realistic. And people will learn to respect you as well, because they understand that not only do you know your limits, but you also aren't afraid to kind of remind them that some things might be unrealistic. And a lot of times when we're looking at work situations, especially, bosses and coworkers need that subtle nudge. And there's a lot of ways you can deliver that information. It's not always a solid no. It's a, well, we can do this, but we need help sort of message, if you know what I mean. The other thing that I felt was a little bit of a tightening around the third chakra, that's right around your belly button. And a lot of times there, the balance can be a balance of power. And for me, this can be sometimes with a loved one, a parent, or a really intimate relationship. Someone who absolutely knows how to kind of like get under your skin, push your buttons. And what you want to do this month is realize that power, your power especially, is something that doesn't get taken. It's something that you kind of, even if it's on a subconscious level, you know that you're kind of doing something or giving away power on some level. So I want you this month to reclaim what is rightfully yours, which is the power to say no, to make your decisions, to push back. And in relationships, you can also stand up for yourself if this is something that's important. Especially because I feel like for many of you, it's not just about balance this month, it's also about trust. I closed my eyes when I saw the word trust in my automatic writing, and I asked Spirit, what is it that this sign needs to focus on in respect to trust? And I have two words that just came through again. The first is elasticity, and the other one was limits, which is something we talked a little bit about earlier. An easier way to kind of talk about elasticity is that some people may have kind of pushed things too far. So we can all forgive somebody for making a mistake, for even maybe not completely saying everything that is on their mind about something. But at a certain point, if somebody out and out lies or doesn't tell you the truth or hides something, if this is a repetitive thing for them, something that is cyclical, then at some point, trust cannot be given again. They have to earn it back. The rubber band has burst. It's kind of like you lose that ability to keep stretching. And so there's a reminder on both sides. If you've had someone in your life and you've given them a reason not to trust you, it's going to take time. It's not something that they owe you or you automatically have. You'll have to earn that back. And likewise, if someone in your life has made you get to the point where you're just unhappy and you don't feel good, you don't feel safe, and your intuition, this is especially important, if your intuition says to you, be careful, or this person can't be trusted, listen to that and give them space and really wait for them to give you enough history and time and examples that they can be trusted again. So there could be someone in your life this month you just have to kind of like keep to the side because there's a lot of other things that you have to focus on, and that energy is just going to be erratic and pull you off course, if that makes sense. And then the other thing with trust for you was the placement of limits. And so if someone has, like I said, cashed in one too many times on that trust card and you can't do it anymore, then say no and refocus, because putting that limit in place is the equivalent of sort of creating like a software reboot, if you will, for your energy. And now the new program that is running is one that attracts people that have that same integrity about them. If you are authentic, if you are truthful, if you have earned the trust of people around you, and you also put out to the universe and in your new program, I'm not really going to make space for people that aren't in that same energy and holding that same integrity, then you will only start to call in people of a higher frequency. And that's really what I hope some of you can do this month, is hit the reset button, kind of clear the cache of people around you that are not there for the right reasons. And this will help you create a balance. And saying no, you can kind of start with those people where you want to say no. If they're not really giving back, or if they're giving you reason to be concerned, then this month you're going to make room in your life for better energy, for better opportunities, and also just for self-care. I didn't write it down, but that was sort of like a third energy and piece of information that came through, was to take care of yourself. Because as you say no, as you create balance, your body, your energy, your emotions go to a higher space. And that self-care will make you more successful, more able to handle stress and exciting opportunities as well that come through. You're just going to be all around happier, healthier, and vibrating at a much higher frequency. And that's really why we show up every month. That's my goal for you anyway. So to that end, why don't we take a look now at the cards, and we'll see what energy, information, and messages are coming through for the month ahead. Just a reminder that at this point, I'm going to remain quiet as I pull all of the cards. Afterwards, we'll regroup and we'll talk about all that is coming through for the month of September. All right, let's get started with your Catalyst card. The Catalyst, which was reversed, I'm going to pull it up right, is the Otter. And the card, first of all, just functions as a way to connect all of the cards that I pulled today. This really sets the tone. It helps you embrace the high energy for the month and kind of navigate through some of the tricky things that could be showing up for you. An otter is a great symbol. When I see this, it usually indicates intelligence, playfulness, and social activities, and sometimes it can even be a little bit territorial. Now, it's a part of, I believe it's a part of the weasel family, so the interesting thing with this, that trust note that I mentioned comes through as well, because sometimes when I think of what a weasel symbolically is, even when we say like in English, you know, that person's a bit of a weasel, you have to be careful. So all of those things are embodied with this card. I want to kind of take them apart piece by piece. So first, let's talk about why it was reversed. I think some of you might be in a little bit of a symbolic hermit phase this month. The reversed otter is saying this is a good month for you to kind of spread your wings and start to become more social. As I said, this is an animal that really likes being in a group. And I feel like if you pull yourself back too much, you could miss out on some important opportunities. And much like when I see the Three of Cups in reverse, it is usually sort of a temporary state versus a hermit, which can be more of a long-term sort of seclusion. So I think that I would like to encourage you when you feel right this month to start to kind of ease back into social activities. I mentioned that there might be some trust issues coming through, or you might be putting limits, so that might be why you're pulling back. But eventually decide who you do want to spend time with, whether it's family or, you know, a new friend or something, even just a new activity. Get out there in the community a little bit. It's going to serve you well. The territorial piece is really interesting. We'll look at this as we kind of look at your environment in particular, because I have the Devil card there. I think that you want to look around you and maybe avoid any sort of arguments around maybe like stepping on someone's toes or knowing that in the environment there's something that's not worth you dealing with. When I see this Devil reverse, it's also showing me that you can avoid an argument or you can avoid some sort of situation that really is kind of like a no-win this month. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. The last thing with this, with the playful piece, I think is that having a good sense of humor about yourself and others will go a long way. That's not to say that you're making light of, you know, being professional or what you're doing or how serious something is. It means that if we can't laugh about ourselves or realize that sometimes life is just a little bit crazy, then it's difficult to be able to kind of deal with all that's going on. Laughter in general could be a great way to sort of break the ice in any sort of really difficult situation that might arise this month. So see if there's a way that you can take it from something that is too serious and too heavy to a place where you're adding a little bit of levity to the situation, because then people's defenses come down a little bit and you can open up the heart space a bit, okay? We'll get more information as we go through all of the cards. I just wanted to highlight that now. Let's start with, there's some really interesting major arcana cards that I have to talk about. It starts right here with the center. We have Judgment in reverse. With the Judgment card in reverse, some of you may be at a point where you're having a difficult time either dealing with a decision or making a decision. And for some of you that might be receiving like a statement, some sort of a legal document in the mail, or even a final word from a judge or a court of law or something like that. There's a legal element with it for some of you. The difficulty in here is making peace with what the new reality is. So I feel like some of you are either receiving that judgment or making a decision or trying to kind of toy with, is this the right choice? And unfortunately, I don't feel like there's a lot of wiggle room here. I think that you have to kind of move forward. Since it's right at the center, it feels like the sooner you can kind of set priorities straight this month, the better. Now, if you're not dealing with some sort of a document or a legal case or a decision, the priorities thing, I think, is essential. Knowing what you want to accomplish, what's important to you, and also stating your expectations for others this month. These are the most kind of like essential pieces to success, I think, that I could offer you. Now I have to touch a few other cards here and I'll pull them up for you because they're really important. So that was your central card. In the near future, we have the Ten of Swords, and in the environment, we have the Devil. So with both of these cards, this is showing a potential situation where you're upset. It could be an argument. It could be a disappointment. It could be something that it's basically like a full stop. You're going to walk away from this and think, I can't do this anymore. The devil reverse is saying that there is a chance to overcome this. There might be a higher path that you can walk. So as I go through the Celtic cross, I'm going to try to find that higher path for you, okay? Let's get back to the center card. The center card is Judgment reversed, and crossing it is the Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups is a joyful card, and this is much more in line with what we would see with the Otter. This is about having, generally speaking, an optimistic outlook on life and trying to take everything at its best. There is, however, with the Nine of Cups, a sort of risk that you can go too far in one direction or the other. If you're overly optimistic and try to make everything amazing and positive, and realizing that, sometimes we have to process moments of grief, sadness, disappointment, malaise, whatever it is, because the difference between the high and the low, that's going to give you context. There are some days where we have to go through the lows so that we can appreciate the highs. If there's a day where you get a little bit of bad news, where you are challenged on some levels that you didn't expect you would be, these are learning opportunities that are coming through. And the key to be successful with the Nine of Cups card is to write out the highs and also the lows, and try to find a nice happy space in between, so that you're never kind of getting the inflated ego that can happen where you think everything's okay, or missing something because you're trying to spin everything into a positive. Because sometimes the negative or critical information is coming in to show you or guide you onto a better path. And I know I'm jumping around a bit, but this will make sense with what I'm talking about. With your crowning card being the Six of Swords, for some of you that message is that it's time to move on, or that someone is pulling away from you, and you have to acknowledge those sorts of things so that you can redirect, okay? But generally, the Nine of Cups is saying that levity and that joy and happiness is going to help you this month. Don't let one person or one disappointment bring you down, and don't stay too long in the high or the low. Try to be more neutral with a sort of gentler wave between the higher or lower frequencies, because that way it feels easier to manage all of the energy and all of the opportunities that are coming through for you. In the deep past, we have the Queen of Swords, and she's upright. The interesting thing with this particular illustration is it does feel like she's entertaining an option. And what I see with this is that you have more power to sway people with your communication, both verbal and nonverbal, than you may understand. So I want you to lean upon those strong communication skills this month, because they're going to serve you well. This can also show, since it's in that the sort of foundational space here in the spread, that you really want to make sure that if you are in a business situation, or even some sort of a change in your life where you have to look at those documents that I was talking about with Judgment, that you have a good lawyer. The Queen of Swords can be a publicist, a lawyer, or also even some sort of agent for you. And for those of you that are in marketing, communications, or might be a writer, this can also be you. But the main thing that I'm seeing here is pick your words well, choose your moments well, and know that once things have been sort of put out into the world, that they're going to stick. And the thing that you want to be very careful of is to not come across as judgmental, and to try to see the higher energy of things. Not glossing over anything, being realistic, but trying to always kind of play that middle and thinking of what the other person might be thinking. So empathy is good, and being optimistic but realistic, kind of blending all of those things is going to make you an effective communicator. In your environment, you have the Ten of Cups upright, which is really positive. This portends really good things around the first week, especially with respect to your business. And I think that's why the Otter card came through. It's saying, get out there, explore, see what things are coming through, and you may be able to make a really great connection. Coming from a place that you didn't expect. It could be a friend of a friend. It could just be you deciding to, support somebody at, if they are creative and they have some sort of an art show or an opening. Just doing something that's kind of left of center, not really related to business. It's more sort of you being there for a friend. It's going to open up something because you could meet someone there. So the other thing is that if we take business out of this, I feel that the balance thing that I talked about earlier is that some of you are going to have an unexpected phone call or email that's kind of coming out of the blue from a family or friend, and I should say a family member or a friend in your life, and you're going to have to decide, is this worth my time? Because there is a sort of trade-off here. You're going to have to possibly take some time off work or take energy from one project and put it into this sort of family situation. It doesn't necessarily come through as an emergency, but I see travel associated with it. So there's just this decision of what's more important to you, what's going on right here and right now, or this person. For some of you, the person matters so much that it's the right thing to do and you're excited. I mentioned that elasticity thing before. If it's someone that's constantly pulling at you, you might have a different reaction to this. But I like the 10 of Cups, and with it upright, I think that you have to really think about where you're at right now. Do you want to kind of expand and increase the health in your sort of family and friend circle? And if so, you'll know what to do. The crowning card is the 6 of Swords. It shows travel and movement for many of you. So you may be traveling for work. You may be deciding to take an overdue trip or vacation. And in that case, good for you, you deserve it. The 6 of Swords can also show distancing. And there's been that general message this month that there may be people in your life that you're deciding to cut cords with and create that space that's necessary so that you can be healthier, so that you can be happier, and you can be away from those sort of toxic elements. And I definitely see some of that now as we navigate towards near future, ego and environment. We're going to talk about that right now. Now, if you remember earlier, I was talking a little bit about self-care. We get that echo of self-care here in the 10 of Swords as we look at near future. Near future is both the midpoint of the month, but it also can show what is coming through over the next couple of months as well. So with this, I want you to be careful for not overdoing things. The elasticity that I talked about, it's not just trust, it's your body. If you basically push yourself too hard, when I see 10 of Swords, it shows a susceptibility that comes through to get sick. It could just be the flu, it could be a cold, it could also be an injury that is completely avoidable because sometimes when we're tired, we can trip and fall. If you're in a car, you could fall asleep. Anything like that, that's totally what the 10 of Swords can indicate just from a sort of energy and health perspective. For the chronic pain, you definitely want to look at how you're sitting and sleeping, because the 10 of Swords is all about the spine. For some of you, this may be hitting you around the neck, it may be the midpoint of the back, or it could even be around the tailbone. Please, if you're going through any sort of issues with your health, get it taken care of. The sooner the better, because since this is in a position where it's avoidable, you can take whatever you're feeling in your body as a cue, go to a professional, take care of it, and get back on track. It's not in the outcome, it's a little speed bump in the middle. And I think that the better you take care of yourself, the less likely it's going to happen. The fact that I did get a travel card, the 6 of Swords, and an injury card means that I really want you to be careful with even sort of pedestrian type things when you're walking. Don't hold your phone and not look at what's going on around you. Same thing when you're riding a bike, maybe don't listen to the radio so much or your MP3s or whatever. Try to just be fully aware on what's going on around you, be present, and most importantly, be rested. These things are going to help you fully be able to sort of recover from anything that's going on and hopefully avoid it altogether. That's why we have these readings every month. Free will, awareness, and hopefully the ability to shift and change your destiny in the right direction. All right. Now, as I look at your ego this month, this actually is a good piece of advice and also a cornerstone that can help you navigate some of these challenges that we're seeing in the near future in the environment. We have the Hierophant, which is about structure, organization, predictability, and I think these sorts of things are going to be good for you. So looking at, for instance, your diet and your sleep schedule, this is about a routine that you stick to. Even if it's not your favorite thing, the more you can get into a habit, a good habit here, the more you're going to be able to avoid some of the stuff I just talked about. This also shows layers of bureaucracy and approvals that you're going to have to go through. This is where you want that Queen of Swords to come through. You need someone that can kind of cut through all of that and get you straight to the desired outcome. Your communication can be a part of that, being direct, standing up for yourself, not taking no for an answer from other people if you really need to push forward. That's essential. So anyway, the Hierophant, I believe for many of you, is really important in that creation of Something that's predictable, something that's maintainable, and something that's going to keep you safe, happy, and healthy. It can also indicate, as I said, some of those barriers that you might have to work through, and it can indicate for you a mentor in your life that you can lean upon as you're going through some of these changes. Now let's talk about the trickiest card here, which is the Devil, and it's reversed. So with the Devil in reverse, in the environment, the first thing that I see for many of you is that there could be something that you've already let go of. Maybe it's an old flame. Maybe it's someone that you really like, but they're not available. Or maybe it's something you just know that you should cut out and not have in your life, whether it's sweets, another form of an addiction that you might have, or something that's just kind of taking you down a path that is self-destructive. It's coming through in the environment, which means temptation is around you. But I actually believe that you are stronger than that temptation, because we have the Hierophant and the ego, which is saying, I've made changes. I'm stronger now. I know what I need to do. And then when we look in hopes, fears, and opportunities, we have the Emperor. I'm in control of my thoughts, my actions, and what I want. And then we have the Page of Swords in reverse. I can say no. Even if it's not popular, I can say no to these things. I can say what I have to. I can be critical to people around me, especially if they're deserving of that constructive criticism. And most importantly, in your crowning position, it says I'm not afraid to walk away from things that don't suit me, where there's really it's a no-win situation, and that can be the Ten of Swords. So if there's a person in your life that does push your buttons, as I saw way back in the beginning in the channeled message, then you could just simply choose to walk away from that kind of thing. If there's unresolved energy, or if you really need to kind of right a wrong, then you could also have someone mediate, walk the middle, and make sure that things don't get out of hand. The good news is you have a lot of support and a lot of love this month. So whatever that sort of devil situation can indicate for some of you, I believe that you can walk the path, the higher path of light, and you can be able to avoid it. So the Ten of Swords and the Devil, they're there if you need them or want them to learn from them, but you do not have to go through them. There is a need or a desire, however, to stand up for yourself, to avoid temptations, and to really stay steady when it comes to new goals, new limits, new ideals that you've set for yourself. I think that's essential. There are two really strong energies around, like paternal energy, mentor energy, or father energy. Both the Hierophant, sometimes known as the High Priest, or the Emperor, are coming through. And this can be an older individual in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be a man, but it typically is. Just very strong, sometimes even rigid energy. And for you, the interesting thing is the Devil card is bookended by these two. And what I'm seeing is that if there's a person in your life that is creating that tension that I talked about earlier, they look very similar on some levels to you. And I had a light worker that once, and a teacher in my life that was helping me when I was going through a tough situation. And they reminded me that the person and the environment and everything that happened, they said you called that into your life because you have to work on yourself. And that's also a mirror of you. And I'm actually seeing a mirror between these two cards and then the Devil reversed. One person in your life might be reminding you of what it is that you need to walk away from and what you need to be stronger with. And the other thing here is talking about similarity. We have both the Queen of Swords and then the Page of Swords. But there's a difference between the two. One is outspoken and strong and doesn't have to sort of engage in a fight. The other one can be a little bit more critical, can be a little bit more negative. So I think for you, if there is any criticism or difficult information that you need to sort of deliver, do it based on facts, do it without a lot of sort of drama, and then when appropriate, just move on, walk away from that. You don't have to sit in that and kind of engage or spar. That's avoidable as well. The other things with the Devil, let's talk about how you can flip this card upright, because you really actually have a pretty good spread. You only have 3 cards that are reversed. Most of them are upright. This is the one I think that deserves the most time and energy. So for me, I talked about the Devil being potentially temptations, and we talked about how you could just stick to your promises and your goals. That's part of that. We talked about similarities, and that's another thing. You might have to recognize that the person that's triggering you actually is showing you something about yourself that you need to work on. And we talked about communication styles. The other thing with the Devil is honesty and availability. So with the honesty piece, The devil actually is a helper. It comes in to show us something with a wink and a nod that we need to deal with. It's like, if you don't deal with this, then you're going to have to deal with me. So for some of you, it's about, are you seeing yourself and you're seeing the situation honestly? And are you being honest? So if there's someone in your life that you know that you can't sort of connect with because maybe there's a contractual reason if you're in business and it just doesn't make sense. Maybe there's a policy that you're breaking by doing something, or maybe you're trying to date someone that's already taken, or vice versa. Whatever that temptation or limit is, it's there for a reason. And this month you get a chance to either walk away from that or go through that situation and learn something from it. But usually the devil isn't the best experience. So I think it's best to say no to these sorts of things and be honest. And if there is something that you have to share with someone this month, then get it out in the open. If it is about an addiction or about a lie or about something that you just can't carry any longer, then this will be freeing for you. And that's what the Six of Swords is about as well. But there's a chance that you could lose that person or that situation, but at the same time, you would be unshackling yourself. The main thing, I don't pay attention as much to this. That's just a symbol of what the card is. The important thing is, typically there are two people, and they are separated by a chain. The chain can be an addiction, a codependency, something that they've created that's coming between them. It can be an illusion that you can't move on. This month you take the chain and remove it, whatever your chain is, okay? That's going to be freeing for you. And if you notice someone else that's carrying their own chain, their own addiction, their own issue, you don't have to get hooked into that either. This month you are free to decide whatever it is that you want to do. I actually heard that old Cranberries song, Free to Decide, I think that is. And that's what I think is really important this month. You can do it, okay? Before we move on to the expanded forecast, I have one last card that I like to talk about in your outcome. It's the Page of Swords in reverse. And the message that I received from Spirit is that there is something this month that could create the equivalent of a feedback loop where you're getting what you put into it, but also it could get garbled. So you want to pause and allow people to talk this month, but if they are consistently going negative and low frequency with what they're saying, you have to either stay neutral, get a third party involved, or try to counteract that with facts, with common sense, with love, and with kindness. Don't basically go low as well, because otherwise the two of you are just going to fight, and that's what this is about. You can avoid that by stepping away, getting a third party involved, or trying to stay higher energy and seeing the positive and helping them possibly look at it from another perspective. And also citing maybe what the consensus is as well. This is going to take them down off of their ledge and bring them into a space where they're also neutral as well. Let's now move on to the expanded forecast and start with your health card. We have a really interesting card here. Sometimes you think of contracts more in a business sense, but a contract can be one that we make with ourselves, an agreement that we make with our doctor, a promise that we give to our family or to our partner. And for you, this contract, as you see, has to do with balance. And it's very close to the Judgment card in the middle here. You have to want to do this. That's what I see. And the Judgment card reversed is sometimes resistant to saying no to something. And when I look at the Nine of Cups, it can sometimes be a card that comes through for people that are overindulging. So whatever your particular vice may be this month, it's a great time to decide less, I don't want to do as much of this, or completely just kind of let it go. So you have a chance this month to overcome one of those vices or one of those temptations. And it may help to write it down. Just create your contract with yourself. This month, I'm going to succeed at letting go of this. You could make a verbal agreement with your partner or your family member or someone that can kind of be your partner in making sure that you are honest. So this can be a workout buddy, anything like that. But someone with whom you have this contract and you are going to kind of be kept to your word. It'll be really great at being healthy. The other thing that comes through with this is if you are in some sort of an agreement that feels limiting to you, that's the devil here too. Let's go to the reverse side. Maybe you've signed up for something and once you got into it, you realize this is not resonating with who I am, what I'm trying to do, who I want to be. Then it's time to break that contract. In that case, you probably will need a legal counsel and This decision may not fall on ears that are really sympathetic, but if it's best for you, if it's exhausting you and you have to get out, then you're either making or breaking a contract with your health this month, okay? I think you can do it. And then just the other thing that I see here is balance overall, which is something we talked about way back in the channeled information. So it's coming through again. Moving along to wealth. Much like health, which is mind, body, and spirit, wealth isn't simply money. In this case, it's actually about your divine purpose. I think there are two levels to this. The first is what brings you joy from day to day. What do you look forward to doing every day when you get up? And the other thing is, what is your soul wanting to do before it leaves the planet? And a great way that you can kind of go to that second portion is imagine that this was the last day that you were on this planet for whatever reason, that you were going to ascend to spirit tomorrow, and you had a chance to do your life review right here and right now. Would you be happy? Would you be satisfied with the friends that you've made, the work that you've done, the lives that you've touched? Or would you feel the sense of longing or regret for something that was not yet on that list? Use that potential regret or that potential longing to create your goals for this month and for your life in general. The interesting thing here is things can be more fun and they don't have to be a burden to you. The interesting thing with this poor angel here is it looks like they're kind of looks like they're sad, and it feels like the weight of the world is on their back, but look, there's actually a rainbow on top of them. And so for you, your divine purpose could be to bring joy. You think of someone like a comedian or an actor or an artist or a musician. What a beautiful gift they have to share with the planet. That gift of making people experience joy through some sort of performance or some sort of engagement. It's no less or more important than something that a doctor would do, or someone that's working in the environment would do, or some sort of traditional science. They're all part of this beautiful tapestry on the planet. And the most important thing is that you feel a connection to it. Because in doing that, not only will you be more satisfied, but you'll be more successful as well. The other important thing that I see here is that some of you may be missing an opportunity. I talked about the rainbow over top of this angel here. What I see is a sense of sadness. There's obviously, for some of you, you feel like you're processing grief or disappointment. That's also indicated for some of you by this Ten of Swords card. What I've found in my life is that every time I am put against some sort of a wall where I want to get a job or I try to go for an opportunity and it doesn't work, it's because either internally I wasn't ready or environmentally that was not the match for me. And sometimes it takes me a year or 10 years, or sometimes it's just a few weeks, and you look at that and you think, oh, thank goodness this didn't work out. The divine had my back in those situations, and this month it has your back as well. If something seems to not be working, take that as a nudge from the universe to redirect your energy, to focus on something else, to really trust your intuition, balance everything out. That's the most important thing that you could focus on. Let me see if there's anything else that comes through for some of you this month. I think that when I'm looking at all of these contractual things, we literally have that sitting above a contract. We had a card here that can represent a lawyer, and then we have something that can show maybe a contract or a situation that comes up that is not in your best interest. You really want to make sure that somebody looks at all of the fine print. If you sign an extended contract with an agent, a publishing company, a distribution company, or if you're committing to something that you just don't feel comfortable about, ask questions, get a couple set of eyes on this document, and I think that's really, really important. Don't say yes, don't do something until you're ready. Okay, let's go ahead and move along now to love. And love is not just relationships, it can also be sort of how you love yourself, how you're expressing that love with others, etc. The card was reversed, but I want to pull it up right so we can read it. It says, express your love. Go ahead and make the romantic gesture. I want to first say that this could simply be gratitude and appreciation. And this could be to your parents, to a sibling, to a good friend in your life, just saying, I love you, I appreciate you. And by the way, for all of you, I love you and appreciate you for being here and for listening to all of this. But you notice that I'll start and end my videos with that kind of gratitude. It's heartfelt and it really helps. And sometimes there's someone in your life that may really need it. They could be going through pain right now. And when you say that and when you open up to them, quite literally, you could save their life, or you could change their entire perspective. You could help them see the light right above them. So know that expressing and meaning that love, that connection, just saying I love you, but really meaning it is so powerful, because I believe that God is love, and love is the universal currency. And love can break through all of the shadows, all of the pain, all of the disappointment that we all experience from time to time. So if you're in a place where you're feeling that rainbow, help somebody this month who's feeling a little bit below that rainbow, or is going through a 10 of Swords moment or a 6 of Swords moment where they're walking away from something. Be the support to them, and know that that's going to kind of boomerang back when you need it as well. The other thing, if we just take this card at face value, it's actually saying hold off on this, because it's the reverse of this. When a card's reversed, the meaning is altered. And it says go ahead and make the romantic gesture. Well, the reverse of this is saying the timing may be off, and that could be quite literally because the person is not available. Because for me, the Devil card can indicate someone who's in a relationship, or who isn't ready to begin a relationship, or is trying to heal themselves. And there's some reason that whoever is there in your environment that you might want to engage with, they're just not quite energetically ready for what you need. And you may also be working on yourself as well. So I would say take things very slowly with new relationships. With old relationships, use unconditional love as a tool to overcome any sort of codependencies, addictions, or things that have been holding you back. This will break through the ice. This is going to help you get into a place where love, light, and the universal energy is going to guide you to the right outcome. And it's going to help that other person see the potential and, again, see what is beautiful right above them. Okay? Let's now take a look at the Destiny card. And as I say each and every month, Destiny isn't set in stone, not the way that I'm reading the spread. Destiny here is more of a GPS that is leading you on a path, and you can decide, do I like this path? Is it a little too bumpy? Do I want to take a left or a right turn? Your free will is going to be indicated in this message. And what we see is that many of you may be either deciding to engage in some sort of healing, and I think it's absolutely appropriate based on what's coming through. This could be counseling, it could be Reiki, it could be massage therapy, it could be acupuncture, or anything that I've neglected to mention here. Take time to heal yourself this month. Some of you may also decide to go on the path of becoming a healer, a light worker, a doctor, someone that is actually touching lives through their work, through bringing love and light. Okay? So when we were talking about divine purpose earlier, this could be for some of you the divine purpose. Just remember that healing can happen through laughter, through tears, through working with energy, through a scalpel. All of these different professions all kind of create light on the planet. So decide what your light work is going to be, and maybe this month you'll take a step towards that direction. So really beautiful messages, very transformative month. Some really interesting things as well that I'm seeing here. So let's go ahead and review everything that we talked about, and then I'll leave you with the closing word. At this point, I'm going to turn the camera down so you can see the spread, because I know those of you that like to read cards appreciate that. So let me turn the camera and we'll get to that quick review. Your channeled message this month is all about balance and trust, balance of time, energy, and love, also money, making sure that you're not pulling yourself too far in one direction. We talked about that elasticity. That elasticity also extends to trust and relationships. Has someone pushed you a little too far? If so, this is a month where it might be time to create some distance, walk away, and avoid an unnecessary conflict. The Otter came through reverse, but the Otter is a card of being social, of being playful, of not sort of taking things too seriously, and that levity and that humor can take you a long way towards healing this month. The one message I would say that you'd want to embrace with the reversed Otter is that you want to walk away from unnecessary situations, because an Otter can be territorial. And we saw here in the environment with the Devil card, and even in the near future with the 10 of Swords, there's a need to sort of let this go and walk away from that. This month, it's important to really feel comfortable with decisions that you make. And for some of you, if someone else has made a decision that you don't agree with, there's a warning here as we look at 6 of Swords, 10 of Swords, and the Devil. For many of you, the simple message is it might be time to step away if you don't trust them or you don't believe they're doing something that's in your best interest. But Judgment overall is showing that you know what to do. You have to trust yourself, and if necessary, lean on a professional to help execute that. We have the Queen of Swords here showing that you already have good communication skills, but you may want to have a PR specialist, marketing specialist, or even a lawyer really help you through some of these tricky situations that you might be going through. The Nine of Cups on top of Judgment is indicating that a sunny disposition and outlook will help you. You want to be realistic, however, and if there is one day or one thing that kind of pulls you down, don't let that define the entire month. It's a moment in time, but there's a lot of great things that are working in your favor this month. So stay grounded, stay level, and try to stay more in the middle than go into the punctuated highs or punctuated lows. Friends, family, and community wants to come through. It's up to you if you want to socialize. As I said, the Otter reverse is like the Three of Cups reverse. You might be pulling back from some people. Just don't go so far that you cut off those great support tiers that seem to be coming through for you. Travel is a key component for some of you this month, and it looks like it's unavoidable. For some of you, this can be more of a metaphor for walking away from this situation that we see on the diagonal. Speaking of that diagonal, try to avoid burning the candle at both ends. Get ample sleep and nutrition this month. If there's any kind of chronic condition that you're dealing with, obviously get some assistance with that. And be careful with spinal health this month, because the Ten of Swords definitely is something that I would connect with discomfort in neck, back, and even right around the hips. It's how you're holding yourself, so you might need an adjustment. You might need to go to a professional to get some assistance with that. The good news with the Ten of Swords is if you do go through a situation that tries your patience or there's an argument, this usually is the last of it. At that point, when we're looking at this, you've gotten out whatever you need to get out in the open, and then you're able to walk away from it. We saw an interesting mirroring happening between both the Queen of Swords and the Page of Swords and the Emperor and the Hierophant. For some of you, this could be two couples. For some of you, this could be a situation where you're just in an environment or a relationship where the other person is mirroring pieces of your personality that you may not be comfortable with. The sooner you can look at that mirror and make peace with what you see and what you need to change and how you call that person in, the sooner this card dissipates. The Hierophant is actually a key to succeeding and kind of getting past the Ten of Swords and the Devil. Be strong, be consistent, and trust yourself. The contract that we see in the health area could actually be a contract that you make with yourself or with someone that you love. Use that contract to stay accountable and stay on your path. In wealth, we have divine purpose. Don't be afraid to embrace what it is that you love and try to find a way to graft that onto what you're doing for a living. At the very least, however, make sure that you're making time for hobbies, for things in your life that just make you feel like this is a day that I want to get up and do something. Add that into your life, and really on the long term think about, are you tracking to the goals? If you had limited time, would you be happy with what you've done so far? If not, use those things as bullet points, as goals and aspirations, and then start to work towards them. There is a pause in this message here with expressing your love. On the bright side, for those of you that haven't expressed it, the reversal can say, simply say thank you and express appreciation. If this is more of a passionate love, with Devil in the environment, this is about making sure that you know who it is that you're getting involved with, and make sure that you are willing to take on any of the baggage that they might be carrying. So proceed with caution, get to know them, and be strong in what matters for you. Don't second guess your intuition, and don't let go any of those morals or any of those things that you really hold near and dear to yourself. With respect to the energy healing work, I think for some of you, this entire month is a cleanse of sorts. Getting out of toxic environments, toxic situations, creating better limits, dealing with issues of balance and trust, healing any sort of chronic pain, getting your sort of career path better oriented. All of this is healing you and getting you on a path where your own energy and frequency is heightened. Some of you may choose to do energy work, or you may choose to go and get some healing. Whatever the case is for you, that's absolutely in alignment with what I'm seeing here. I didn't mention too much about this when I was just doing the Celtic cross, but don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. Page of Swords is all about scrutinizing things that don't work for you. And it's touching the Emperor. So for some of you, there may be a situation that pops up where you have to speak up a little bit. This is also part of that healing process. This brings your monthly reading to a close, but I hope that you really enjoyed this deep dive into everything that's coming through, the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens. If you ever want to talk a little bit more about one of the things that we uncovered here today, or maybe something that's really specific to your life and your situation, I'm here for you and I would love to talk to you. The way that you can get in touch with me is by clicking on the first card in the video or the first link below it. This will take you to my booking site where you can check out rates and availability. If things make sense there, then I look forward to chatting with you. I mentioned earlier that everything you see here is viewer supported. I absolutely need your help and support to continue doing the videos that you see here. As you can tell, they're a decent length. They're anywhere between 40 to 50 minutes. And each month it takes about 12 days total, or 1 day per video, to create them, to edit them, and to post them online. And you can give back by simply doing either a one-time contribution or a sustaining one. And the way that you can do that is by clicking on the second card or second link. And there are a lot of different methods. You can do a one-time contribution as little as $1, and that will help me through the whole year. And again, that is such a little price to pay for 12 months of 12 hours of videos. So know that it will really help me in continuing to buy supplies and setting up that calendar time. You can also do a sustaining contribution, either by joining me on Patreon or by also now joining the channel here. I have a join button. These two methods will allow for a consistent flow of resources to come in, and that helps me kind of book time on my calendar and know that I can do it. The more resources I have, the more time I have to do something of a high quality for you. To everyone who has contributed in the past, I would like to dedicate today's video to you. Thank you for making it possible. And if you're thinking of making a contribution today, I appreciate your help. You're absolutely making the next round a reality. The third and final way that you can help out is the easiest, and it really doesn't involve anything but a few clicks. So if you're resource tied, or if you just have already done that and you want to help a little bit more, click on the third card or the third link. This will take you to my website where you can join me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, also get my newsletter if you would like, and then you can go a step further and share it on your social media network. This will allow me to continue to spread this message with as many people as possible. And my goal on the planet, by the way, is not only to raise consciousness, but also to start intelligent conversations about spirituality and empower people. You're helping me on all three of those goals when you share this, so I just want to say thank you. And by the way, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do that. Clicking on the bell notification is a great way to know when I post videos as well. With all of that being said, let's go to your closing word this month. And I'm actually drawn to two different cards here. The first one is the Otter. I do think it's important this month to get out of your sort of hermit phase, if you're in one, and connect with people that you love. It's all about choices. We mentioned balance and trust. Spend that time and energy with people that are reciprocating and feeding you right back. And then really connect to what it is that you love in life, both from just a general passion perspective, like this brings me joy, and then also I would love to do this to make the world a better place. The thumbprint that you're going to leave when you go back into the stars at the end of your life. If you do this month, everything else will fall into place for you, and I wish you all the best. Sending you a lot of healing love this month, by the way. I'll be meditating on you, okay? Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your journey for the last 50 minutes or so. It means all the world to me. I'm wishing you love, light, and happiness. I'll see you again next month. Until then, be kind to yourself and be kind to others as well.